Okay. I speak Greek, modern Greek, and I try to learn Turkish. My level of Turkish is so low. But anyway, and I've been dealing with a lot of bullshit going around regarding Turkey, modern Turkey. First of all, we have to distinguish what is Turkish from what is Turkic, what is what is Germanic and what is German. Germanic languages are German, uh, Dutch, Swedish, Norwegian, English, Danish, Icelandic, um, with different degrees of purity. I mean, English is a very bastard language, and other languages are more pure in their vocabulary and stuff, like pronunciation. And English has evolved a lot. So we have to distinguish what is Turkish that pertains to the state of Turkey, which borders Greece and Syria, other states, with a lot of populations that lives in Asia. And some states like Azeri, Turkmenistan, okay, Turkmenistan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, with different degrees of original blood, Turkic blood. What it's very difficult to say we are not animals, we are animals, but we are not like other animals. There's a culture thing. That's why he called Turkey Turkey, in spite of the fact that they don't look like the original population that had that language and have that some habits and customs. But when you speak about dogs, you know that dog is that breed because it looks like that. When it comes to people, it's not as simple as that. Okay, you don't need to look 100% Italian stereotype to be Italian. Okay, there are people who were born in African countries, sub-Saharan African countries, who are white, especially in South Africa, or African people more that live in many other countries. And you cannot say that since in America, United States speak English, all people speaking English are you know, from the British Islands. Doesn't make any sense anymore. So when Greek people, for political reason, for hate, let's speak out, this hate speech, real hate speech, they compare Turkish people to Mongolic, and that has a racial connotation and racial slur. It's clear they don't compare them to Mongolic people for just sake of precision. Would I say that no modern Turk has blood from Asia, and that blood harks back to invasion Turkey? Some people can have Asian blood, but because recently they came from Asia. Okay, I say blood that has been there for millennia or centuries. No, obviously not. There must be a percentage of the population, and it's not single people, because the DNA gets spread in percentage. but there is a percentage of Central Asia DNA in Turkey. Obviously, from what I gathered from DNA tests videos that I saw, in order to be evident, this DNA should be 30%, with a 30% original Asian DNA, you look some way somewhat different. If you have been seeing, if you see Turks, and I saw a lot of Turkish people, both here in Rome or watching Turkish videos and soap operas and whatever, what's not. Obviously, they do not look Central Asian. So when Greek people write things like they cleanse the ethnic clans of Greek are the people who originally straddle the border between Europe and Asia. That's a political agenda. First of all, let's speak out. It's only a matter of time, because Greek people invaded what is nowadays Greece. I mean, they were Indo-European people who traveled along Asia and Europe. European people, I say Indo-European people, okay? They were in an area that I'm not entirely sure is between Asia and Europe, or in Asia. Anyway, there are no clear-cut borders, and this division of continents, it works nowadays, but it's not something that is entirely working. We call Indo-European European, but India is not in Europe, but for the most part these people moved towards what it was a subcontinent of Asia, Europe. But okay, we call it Europe, but you know, you can, it's the only continent that really has borders with another continent, so it's a little blurred, the situation. I mean, Africa is Africa, America is America, Oceania is Oceania, but Europe and Asia are only Ural Mountains divided clearly at a certain point. The other division is merely for practical purposes. So, first of all, what is Europe and what is Asia? Europe is a continent, so we have some borders that we have, like a state. Is Europe an idea? We call it European culture, and that stems from the Latins, the Romans, and the ancient Greeks. Okay, and we have an Asian culture. What is Asian culture is more different. We think of Asian with almond eyes, but many are not, don't have these eyes, slanted eyes. They are from India, and they look with different shades of tan, like us for the most part. In the north you go to Afghanistan, they almost look like us, I mean white European, so to speak. But so when it comes to Turkish people, they live in a big area that in the past was called Anatolia, Asia Minor, more or less. Anatolia, that means nothing, that means east. Anatolia. Anatolia is the country of sunrise for the Greek people. Who was the country of, you always have a country of the sunrise near you. Anyway, And now I haven't memorized all the history of this area, but there have been many people living there. There's never been mainly one people. So it was a crossroads area. Was it Greek? No. I mean, there were Greek people along the coasts. Was it entirely Greek? No. If it was entirely Greek, it would have stayed Greek. Why? Because Greek was invaded also by what we call the Turks, and it's a long story, but people speaking a Turkic language and having this culture. And we see that DNA cannot coincide with the origin of those people. So along the way, it get mixed with other people so much that they are not ethnically and from the point of view of blood Turkic, like they were in Asia. They look, for the most part, like us. Maybe the first population was more, surely, but it was a minority. Let's take England. In English, we have half of the words of French origin. That doesn't mean that we have 50% of the population of French descent. If the population takes over, you don't need mass invasions to change language. Let's see, Latins, they brought their language all over Europe. Doesn't mean that they replaced the original population. Okay? Those original populations. There must be a certain percentage, because there were no books, no recordings, no internet, so you need a percentage of the population that, you know, transmits, then teaches the language to other people. These people must feel the need to acquire this language, and this language needs to get a status. So little by little, that's what happened in Corsica. In Corsica, they, for the most part, now they speak French, and they were used to speak an Italian dialect. That means that all those people were replaced by French people. No, if you see their last names, they are completely, for the most part, Corse. When you see the first names, it's French. That's a cultural assimilation. And it's very important to understand this. Sorry, the audio must be low. Yes, it's very low. But I've been speaking for 13 minutes and I'm not going to start all over again. So bear with me. Now it's better. I'd say that when people speak about the Turkish population, they don't know these things. They reason using stereotypes, and those stereotypes are due to their countries. So you say Greek people saying that Eastern Anatolia was Greek. That's not true. Ethnic cleansing. There was a war. Okay? Greece attacked Turkey, thinking they were feeble, they were weak, and Turkish counterattacked. And they, yes, it's Greek, means yes, they massacred Greek people. Because Turkish people were bad and Greek people were innocent. No. Greek people also massacred in a lesser way, but they did, Turkish innocent population. Since they had the upper end and they were stronger, they did it in a major fashion. Okay, they killed a lot of Greek people and they sent them back. Those things happens. They happened in Europe in the 90s, in Yugoslavia. with population that were close. They were spoke almost the same language. So demonizing Turkish people is something that Greek people do for the most part in their collective subconsciousness, but but that's not right. Greek, Turkish people have their culture, their origin. If we have yogurt, it's thanks to the Turks. So I know that we as Western European, we value Greek culture, and that's good, but because Greek gave a lot, ancient Greece gave a lot to us. But if we analyze modern Greek DNA and we don't find a high percentage of ancient Greek DNA, that is a reason to say that modern Greek people are not Greek. They are 100% Greek. Because they speak Greek, they feel Greek, and have Greek culture. Okay? So even for Greek people have what we call Turkish. It's very difficult to say Turkish DNA, since we said before that Turkish DNA is not, for the most part, Asian. DNA of people who in the last centuries went to Greece and settled down in Greece, but they were originally from parts of Turkey where they speak Turkish and they feel Turks. Yes, there is, but those people are nowadays 100% Greek people, like people who have Greek origin. I mean, they descend from people that in the last millennium spoke Greek and had Greek culture, but nowadays they are Turks from generations back. They are 100% Turks. Otherwise, we wouldn't feel anything. I don't need a DNA test. However much people now do that, but doesn't make any sense. We don't need a DNA test to belong to a country. Some people, from one part, people blame racism, and from the other part, they want to see their DNA. So, oh, I have 3% of Scandinavian blood. Oh, I'm Scandinavian, and they look like charcoal. No, you're not Scandinavian. Oh, a white Scandinavian. Oh, I have 5% of sub-Saharan blood. And they look like Vikings. No, you're not a black man. Okay? If we want to do that just for the sake of it, like a game, okay, but we shouldn't take these things too seriously. Okay? So, there have been studies about modern Turkish DNA, and it's a bloody mess. It is a bloody mess. Surely, there is more Central Asian blood in Turkey than in Greece. Is it evident? Not at all. It's like I have 10% of sub-Saharan blood. Maybe I have. I don't think I have. But if I have, would it change anything to me? No. Would I go to Africa and feel more African? No. So, let's cut the crap. And even so, how much of our personality and our being is due to this is nature versus nurture of this. I mean, we are people. Surely we have something in our DNA that influences what we do. For the most part, though, we behave like our people around us. So some people look Asian. They were born in Rome, they were raised in Rome, they have a Roman accent, and they will behave like Romans. You cannot say, is 95% Asian, so he should eat rice and do this and do this. No, we're not dogs. That is important in dogs. I don't say we are also animals, okay? There must be something that is inborn in us. But it's due more to your family, your father, your mother, and I think very few things are really. He works like that because he's sub-Saharan. Or Asian people move their hands differently just because they were from Asia. I can see that in animals. I have gerbils, which are kind of rodents, and a lot of their behavior is inborn. But in human people, that is not that important. So all this story about Turkish being Asian Mongolic is bullshit. First of all, because they are not. Not so much you can say they are. And if they were, they being Europe and Asia. First of all, as I said before, the Europe and Asia have blurred borders, and there is 14% of the population of Turkish people living in the European part, and the European part account for 3% of their territory. So I'd say 4, 6, 8% they are European. But culturally they're not. If they're Turks and they call themselves Turks, it means there has been a continuity of culture from Turkish people from Central Asia. They speak a Turkic language with a lot of influences from the Arabic and the Persian language. Nowadays less, but you know, in the past they were more because they have the Arabic alphabet, and there were more Arabic and Persian words, and Persian is in Asia. But Persian people speak an Indo-European language. That means this language and these people are connected to us, in spite of the fact they live in Asia. And you see people from Iran, they don't look like Eastern Asian people. So I'd say if we attach importance to the language and the culture, Turkey is an Asian country, Asiatic country for the most part, and is in Asia 97%, and 14% of the population, that means 86% of the population lives in what is called Asia. Okay? So I'd say, since we have to say Europe, Asia, just yes or no, I'd say it's Asia. Obviously with something European, They want to be in the European Union. They want to be there. Even Israel, they feel European, but they are in Asia. So we have to agree on what Europe and European means and what Asia and Asian means. Otherwise, we have to every time to say, okay, this country is for the most part Asian, but it's so. If there's a quiz show and people and they say, is Israel in Asia? You have to say yes. For Europe, for Turkey, as it would be, I think other countries are maybe Georgia or part of the territory in Asia. But if we say, for example, Hungary, they speak a language that is not Indo-European, and their origin or the language is traced back to Asia. But I would say that I can safely say that in spite of the Asiatic origin of the language, modern Hungarian people are 100% European. That's a long story. Some people don't see nuances. There are nuances, but we don't agree on what European means and what Asia means. It's very, but I can say that if a person say, oh, Turkey is Asia, it's for the most part right. The music is entirely not European. The food, even in Greece, I have to say that it's Europe. But if you analyze, I can safely say the Greece is Europe. But for the sake of clarity, and okay, it's Europe. But there is also a lot of Turkish influence in the food, many words, music. That, yes, Greek has a tinge of Asia. Is it bad? No, not at all. Modern Greece wouldn't exist like we feel it with that kind of music, with the like food, without Turkey. So attacking Turkish people, and saying they are Mongolic, they are barbarians, they live in tent, bullshit like that. It's attacking part of your own culture. Because when you say Flizzani, when you say Tsanda, when you say Tembelis, when you say Hassapis, when you say a lot of words, you use words you got from Turkey. To make things more complicated, many of these words, they are not of pure Turkic stock. That means these words get into the Turkic language along the way, from Persian people and from Asian people. So it's a long story. It's very complicated. But people, we generalize. We know when we say Turkey is Asia, is for the sake of clarity, of brevity, of, we cannot add everything. But if we analyze things, is Asia, okay, but many times the character of a country changes in few decades. Or in a century. From Ataturk, there was a trend towards Europe, okay? So, European garbs, clothes, try to write with the Latin alphabet, try not to be too much extremist in their religion, Muslim, and but even in Europe is European. We have neighborhoods where it's full of Arabs, and they surely are not European in their origin and in their culture. It's a very complicated thing, but saying that Turkey is Europe, politically Europe, is bullshit. Come on. They belong to the European Council, that accounts for nothing. And other things, yeah. Yeah, if for some reason Greek people want to be part of an Asian whatever association there is, they wouldn't be Asian, okay? So our culture, our identity is the result of centuries of history, is the result of many things, and yeah, mainly in Europe and Asia. Even in Africa, there is what we call African. Let's speak out. Is sub-Saharan African black people, because if you say I'm African American and you're from Morocco, you're not considered African American. Your origin is from Morocco, but Morocco is in Africa, so reality is more complicated than we think. All in all, I'd say we can safely say that Turkey is Asia, with some, what I said before, some things to point out.